Hello everyone and welcome back to Formula 2 round 5 of the 2023 Formula 2 season in F124, and yeah, we're here at Imola for this one, so should be interesting. I'm feeling pretty good about this circuit as of late, so yeah, let's hope we can have a solid weekend. Things do not get off to a good start though, as has been the case more so recently. I'm really struggling in qualifying.
The rain to hit us any time now.
And with rain on the horizon, we're going to be last on the grid, full stop.
With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the feature race tomorrow, so make sure you join us there.
So yeah, I decided not to waste any unnecessary time on that. I did quite a few laps in qualifying, as many as I reasonably could without taking too much life out of the tyres, because there is a point where, you know, you might improve on your driving technique, but, you know, you've taken too much life out of the tyres, the lap time's not going to be there anyway. So I was last place on the grid. Arthur Leclerc also very much struggling in qualifying here. But, yeah, other than that, Isaac Hadjar, long way down, but he's not really in the championship fight. Our main competitors, though, are all towards the front. Frederick Vesti on pole position. Ayumu Iwasa in third position. Victor Martin's up there as well. Enzo Fittipaldi, Brad Benavides, a good qualifying for those two. Dennis Hauger also in the top 10, so we've got work to do.
So today, the sprint race, no pit stops, just full on pace. It's all about speed, daring, and sheer driving skill. What, I wonder, is in store for us today? Imola's unusual in that it runs anti-clockwise, taking in 19 turns along its 3.1 miles of tarmac. 9 of those are right-handers, with the remaining 10 as left-handers. Now, the F2 drivers here today need to keep in mind the elevation. Pay attention to turn 7. A slow exit from here will lose a driver a lot of time as they struggle to accelerate uphill. It's Formula 2, it is the sprint race. I'm Alex Jakes, Alex Brundle is alongside me. Now, Alex, there's no mandatory stop in the rules, but this is Formula 2. Anything could happen.
We have seen stops before at the end of the sprint race, jumping onto that softer compound of tyre and having at it for the final few laps of the race. Indeed, we've seen sprint races won like that, so anything can happen out there. Don't send the pit crew home just yet.
Back of the grid, not great, I know, but let's just try and use the first lap to push your way up the order.
Alrighty, thank you, Mark. So, it is going to be a no-stop strategy, of course, in the sprint race, as always. Worth keeping an eye on those super soft compound tyres if there is a safety car in the latter stages of the race, but other than that, it'll just be the mediums all the way to the end. No weather to interfere, a few clouds around throughout the race, but no rain in sight, so shouldn't be any concern in that regard. So yeah, should just be a straightforward fight all the way to the end. We've got plenty of work to do, so let's just go to the 5 red lights. It's a long hold, and it's lights out, and away we go for the sprint race here at Imola, and it's a pretty steady start for us. And we're going to be remaining at the back of the field as we head towards turn 1. No real problem though, we're just going to take it cautiously and just slot into line here and make sure we don't get ourselves into any trouble. There's no point, you know, taking any risks trying to move up to, you know, P21, P20 as we do get around the outside of Arthur Leclerc there. But we're going to back out of that one. We did go a little bit off circuit making that overtake, but yeah, it was always going to be a little bit awkward trying to get around the outside there as the field is still very bunched up. So we're still at the back of the field, and it's very hard to make any kind of full send overtakes with the field so close at the start of the race. But once we get a few laps in, I think we should be alright to push on. But like we saw in Baku, I'm not 100% confident at the start of races, and then as the stint goes on, as the tyres start to wear out, I seem to be able to get into a bit of a better rhythm during those phases, as we are very close with Arthur Leclerc there, maybe making a bit of contact.
Okay, no issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking
Lucky not to get damage from Leclerc. or from the curb there, but that has got us a bit of a gap to dive into, and we will make that move on Leclerc. And that moved us up one position into P21, so a little bit of progress made on the first lap after Leclerc drops to the back of the field. A replay of the start then, it was Oliver Behrman on reverse grid pole, Richard Verschoor alongside with Pourchaire and Zuen on the second row, and looks like a pretty decent start from the front row as they all race their way down towards turn 1, and Verschoor going for the move on Behrman. Side by side they run as the fight for third position is also on, but it is going to be Behrman ahead of Verschoor, who moves to the defence briefly, ahead of Théo Pourchaire, who will fight for third position, and I think Verschoor has got that one covered. So the top 4 remain as they were on the grid, and it is Behrman that leads the way from Verschoor and Pourchaire with Zuen in tow. Back on board with myself, and we're going to see if we can make a little bit more progress up the field. Roy Nassani.
Okay, no issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them.
Is up next, so let's see if we can make the move on the Israeli driver. Can we make the big diving move from a long way back? Nassani sees us coming at the last minute, and that was very lucky because that was a super late move. But Roy Nassani, good awareness there, and managed to give us that little bit of space on the apex that we needed. And that was another diving move there on Jack Crawford. And again, Crawford did a good job to see us coming there. I think he actually went bouncing over the exit curbs to give us some room. But as we look further forwards, Behrman has managed to pull a pretty decent margin in the early stages of this one, and Richard Verschoor is under pressure. The Dutchman seemingly struggling for pace a little bit at this phase of the race, and here comes Pourchaire to make the move and gets cleanly through on Richard Verschoor. So Pourchaire up into second position, Verschoor down to third. Back on board with myself, and we go for the very late braking move there on Amari Cordial. We get that one done, move ourselves up yet another position in this race, so we're making pretty good progress. Here's the on board with Cordial, and yeah, almost a good switch back for the Belgian driver, but wasn't to be, and we were able to get the traction down on the exit. And now the fight is on for the race lead, and Pourchaire is through. So Théo Pourchaire is showing some great pace at this stage and has just taken the race lead from Oliver Behrman. So taking ART to the top step for now as we go for the diving move down the inside, and a little bit of curb usage on the inside, but we're through cleanly. And
Okay, good work. Great pass.
Hadjar is now behind us. So again, just chipping away in this race, making progress as and when we can, as Oliver Behrman's not done with this battle just yet, gets back through on Théo Pourchaire. So Oliver Behrman is not down and out just yet as we make the move around the outside of Clement Novalak in the Trident, and we'll get that one done nice and cleanly, as we've got Juan Manuel Correa in front of us next. A little bit of a gap, but
Sat in 16th right now.
we should be able to close that one up pretty quickly. But up to 16th as the fight for the lead is on again. Théo Pourchaire is back through. So yeah, these two fighting away quite hard, and Verschoor and Zuen and co. There's a whole line of cars queuing up behind, not too far behind. But in the meantime, we'll get the move done on Correa. Move ourselves up into 15th position as we look further forwards once more. And what's this one going to be? Behrman making the move to the outside of Théo Pourchaire, side by side into turn 1. And this is going to cost him a bit of time. Could potentially give an opportunity to Richard Verschoor to get back into it. But for now, Théo Pourchaire has held on to the position. No opportunity to Richard Verschoor. Meanwhile, just behind that, Dennis Hauger was going for the move around the outside of Jack Doohan, the two Formula 3 title combatants from a couple of years ago. Jack Doohan gets the better of his rival though and holds on to 4th position for the time being. Meanwhile, up the road we've got Roman Stanek trying to put the move on Kushmaini, our teammate, holding off at the Czech driver, and we'll get past Roman Stanek as well, as he was just a little bit wrong-footed on the exit there of turn 3, and we'll get through
Nice
nicely.
move. Good job.
And yeah, take advantage of that. So Next up is our teammate Kushmani. Hopefully Kush won't give us too many troubles and we can continue the charge through the field. Unfortunately, Kush just hasn't had the pace this weekend, unfortunately. So yeah, we'll be making this move pretty swiftly around the outside, and we'll get that one done nicely up another position in this race up into P13. So we're charging through the field at a fairly rapid rate as Ameri Cordial retires from the race with a mechanical failure and pulls off to the side of the road. A lot of smoke from the Invicta Virtuosi car there as we go sending it down the inside, a little bit wide on the exit, but we still get the move done regardless on Zane Maloney there, and we're up into 12th position. So we're a few positions out of the points still, top 8 scoring points in the sprint race, so still got work to do as Oliver Behrman retakes the lead from Teo Porcher once more. So the battle at the front of the field still well and truly alive. Teo Porcher not done though, because Porcher is coming back around the outside and gets back through. Behrman though sends it down the inside and is going to make a fight of this one. And they're going to keep this one going. Teo Porcher gets squeezed out of room a little bit and has to back out. Behrman maintains the race lead.
That's a new fastest lap of the race.
Meanwhile, we're going to try and make this move up into 11th place around the outside of Jane Daruvula, and we'll get that one done well before the corner, and we'll send it in through turns 1 and 2 up into 11th position. So if we can get one more, we can get our bonus point. We do have the fastest lap at the moment, and 2 more places after that as we full send down the inside of Frederick Vesti there, and that got that move done very nicely. But yeah, if we can get 2 more positions, we'll be in the points proper. But meanwhile, further out in front, it's on again. Teo Porcher to the outside of Oliver Behrman, and they're going to run side by side into turns 1 and 2. Porcher with the nose ahead. Behrman can't keep the fight going, and Porcher takes the race lead once more. But you'll never guess, Behrman isn't done yet. He's going to go for the move back around the outside of Teo Porcher. Porcher thinking about going back up the inside as there's a bit of a lock up there in the background. But looks like Behrman's going to hold on for now as we are nearing the closing stages of the race. So that fight for the lead
No tyre concerns at the moment, just focus on the driving.
Is slowly becoming all the more critical as we fight through the chicane with Victor Martins there, and we get the move down on the Frenchman, and that moves us up into 9th position, just 1 away from getting into the points proper, and we'll maybe make the move to the inside. It's very tight through the chicane there, and in the end we'll stay behind Ayumu Iwasa, but we are tantalizingly close to making this move. We're right under the rear wing, and now we're going to go for the move down the inside into the final few corners, a bit deep, but we'll get the move done. And
okay, good work, great pass.
that gets us up into 8th position and into the points proper. Meanwhile, behind us, Victor Martins rather, is going for the move on Ayumu Iwasa. This is for 9th, and Victor Martins going to get that move done in the straight line, relatively easily done there. So yeah, Martins up into 9th position, ready to capitalise if anything is to happen further up the road. Meanwhile, we've got Teo Porcher still fighting away with Oliver Behrman. Porcher to the outside as they head towards turn 1, and through goes Teo Porcher before the braking zone, and the Frenchman retakes control of the race for the time being at least, but still a few laps to go. Do you want to be in the lead heading on to the last lap? That is the real question, because there is a very high likelihood you could lose it into turn 1, and it seems to be the main overtaking opportunity as we make use of some of the alternatives into the chicane. We get the move done on Enzo Fittipaldi, and next up is Brad Benavides. But let's focus on the fight for the lead once more. Oliver Behrman to the outside of Teo Porcher, and they're fighting it out once more into turn 1. Side by side they go, and Oliver Behrman gets the nose ahead. Side by side they still run all the way through, and Teo Porcher forces the issue and holds on. But again, we run side by side towards turn 1 as the laps continue to count down. This time Behrman gets through and moves up into the race lead, lap 24 of 25. So this is it. there will only be one opportunity left for Teo Porcher as we ride on board down the inside of Brad Benavides we go, and that moves us up
Nice move, good job.
into P6. So this has been a really nice recovery drive in this race into the points, well into the points. Next up
Okay, you just started the final lap of the race. Final lap.
is Dennis Hauger, but further up the road, or further back, behind us I should say, we've got Victor Martins making another move, and that is on Fittipaldi to get into the points. So very nice work by Victor Martins to get that one done. And yeah, that is going to be worth a singular point for Victor Martins as we try and get down the inside of Hauger, but he really forced the issue there and made sure to cover that one off as we look to the inside. A little bit of a reactive move, but nothing too untoward, just made things slightly awkward for us. So we're going to have to find another way through and not make use of that hairpin. So let's see what we can do throughout the rest of the lap. Will we have an opportunity throughout the rest of the lap? Into the chicane has been our best bet throughout the whole race, so we're going to need to get a really nice run through the double right-hander, and we'll see what we can do. We've been strong through here. This is probably our strongest part of the circuit, and we are close to Dennis Hauger as we wind up for the final sector. Down the inside we go, and that is a nice clean move on Dennis Hauger, who hops over the exit curbs to give us a bit of room there. But we've got the move done. We're up into P5, and that completes a fairly decent recovery drive for us in this race. But out in front, there is no questioning who has had the pace in this race. Oliver Behrman has fought hard for this victory, and it's another one for Oliver Behrman. Race victory for the sprints at Imola. Teo Porcher will have to settle for second. Richard Verschoor, a fantastic third.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
What a race. P5 after starting last in a sprint race. I will certainly take that. There was a lot of overtaking to be done there.
He's made it all the way to the top step of the podium. Ollie Behrman takes the checkered flag.
Feisty young drivers reverse the grid and send them with no pit stops. There's always going to be a bit of chaos, Jakesy, but they dealt with it really well.
As we look back on a thrilling race here today, we can now see the drivers take their places on the podium. It's a familiar sight by now, as it's another successful F2 win for Prema.
Well, it was a hard-fought victory for Oliver Behrman here at the sprint race at Imola. Second place goes to Teo Porcher, and Richard Verschoor takes the Van Amersfoort team to the podium.
Well, what a weekend that has been. Please join us next time for another thrilling instalment when Formula 2 returns.
Well, goodness me. Where do I even start to debrief that one? I guess we should start as always by rolling through the full results of the points scorers. As mentioned, it was Oliver Behrman who took the race victory ahead of Porcher, Verschoor, Jack Doohan, myself ahead of Dennis Hauger, Brad Benavides and Victor Martins, rounding out the points scorers with Enzo Fittipaldi and Ayumu Iwasa just missing out. Pole sitter for the feature race, Frederick Vesti, going backwards from the start, winding up in 11th position, so not good signs for Frederick Vesti, but a good day for Prema nonetheless, scoring maximum points with Oliver Behrman, or almost maximum points. We did grab the fastest lap, so yeah, we managed to take that one away, but Behrman had some very good pace otherwise. But let's take a look at the championship standings after that race, and we'll see where everyone stacks up. We still lead the championship, 24 points ahead of Ayumu Iwasa, who did not score in this one, and then 28 points back to Dennis Hauger. Oliver Behrman probably had the most or did gain the most, of course, in that race. 38 points adrift in the standings at the moment, ahead of Frederick Vesti and Victor Martins rounding out the top 6. Unfortunately, our teammate not scoring anything. They are down in 12th in the standings. Looking into the team's championship then, we still lead the way there. MP Motorsport sits second, 12 points behind us, and then 17 points back for the Prema team, the Dams team. Not much further back, 23 points adrift for them. And then dropping out of contention a little bit, ART, but well, of course, we just saw Teo Portier score a nice haul of points for them, and I've got Victor Martin starting up near the front in the next race, so certainly they have a lot of potential to score some good points the rest of this weekend. But anyway, with all of that said, where do we go from here? The race pace was very, very good. So in terms of you know, the feature race, I think we can still have a very good run there. The concerning thing is that the qualifying pace has been getting worse round on round each time, so I don't know what's going on, but yeah, I can't explain it. I feel like the laps I'm doing in qualifying are pretty good, but the lap time just isn't there, and then when we get to the race, as you just saw, the pace was incredible. We got the fastest lap, we charged through the field, you know, we were the fastest on track by a margin. So I don't know what to do about it, I don't know how to explain it, but let's just move on to the feature race.
Welcome to all those joining us as we kick off another round of thrilling Formula 2 racing at Imola. It's 3.1 miles around Imola with 19 turns to master, 9 right-handers and 10 left. And note as well that Imola is one of the few tracks that's driven anti-clockwise. Keep an eye on the exit from turn 18. A good exit there leading into the circuit's only DRS zone will probably be the setup for some of today's best overtaking opportunities. And here are the driver grid positions for today's race. Frederick Vesti lines up on pole position, with Victor Martins alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Awasa, Fittipaldi, Brad Benavides, Hauger, Dewan, Porcher, Verschoor, Ollie Behrman, Deruvala, Miney, Zane Maloney, Roman Stanek, Novalak, Correa, Hajar, Amory Cordial, Crawford, Nissani, Leclerc, and Ralph Boschon completes the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
With some luck, we might just be able to work our way up the field, but we need a good start. Keep it clean, okay?
Okay, I will certainly try. So, let's see. In terms of the strategy, no weather to interfere. Unlike what Alex and Alex like to say every single round. I cut it out again because again they went on that little thing about the possibility of weather today. So I think that's just a bug in the game. But regardless, we're going to be starting on the super softs just like everyone else, moving on to the mediums to finish the race off. About 12 or so laps in, I think it was. But anyway, 5 red lights are on, and we are underway for the feature race here at Imola. And it's an okay start for us as we head towards turn 1 for the first time. And we're just going to be a little bit cautious once more because we can't make a pit stop until lap 6. So we don't want to go bending any front wings too early in this one. So we'll just take things cautiously. Nice switch back to get the move done on the inside of Arthur Leclerc, but then things looked a little bit awkward, so we lifted off quite early into the next chicane. Leclerc gets back through, but again, I'm not too concerned. Once we settle into a rhythm, once the field spaces out, we'll make our way through and start making that progress through the field. But yeah, right now, again, just take it cautiously in the opening lap. Tyres are still a bit cold as well, so I'm not trying to push too hard. We're just going to settle into a rhythm and, hopefully let the race come to us, essentially. once everything calms down. But it's been a clean start, and we're still all in one piece. We might have an opportunity to make a move on Leclerc into the final 2 corners, potentially, if we can get a good run through the left-hand exit of the chicane. Wasn't a great exit, so we might be a bit too far back for that. But regardless, like I said, clean start to the race, and we're good to push on for the rest of the race. We're in very deep here, down the inside. Leclerc spots us coming, and that was a good effort from Leclerc to give us room and avoid contact there. We get through on the monogas driver, so we will end up passing Leclerc, not quite the way I intended to, just missing the braking point slightly there, or misjudging I should say. But anyway, as we now take a look at a replay of the start, it was Frederic Vesti and Victor Martins on the front row. It's Prema versus ART, version 2.0 in this race, and for the moment it's side by side, so nothing between these two at the moment, as Vesti and Martins are going to duke it out through turns 1, 2 and 3, and Frederic Vesti gets the better of the ART driver. Prema leads the way at the moment, so yeah, good start for the Dane, Frederic Vesti, who leads the way through the first sector. It looks like there's a bit more fighting going on behind, as that is Ayumu Iwasa fighting away with Brad Benavides, and it looks like Benavides is in position. Iwasa might have to slot in behind, and does so. So good start by Benavides, actually up into 3rd position. And Iwasa has to settle for 4th. Then it's Jack Doohan next in the queue. So yeah, a clean start by those at the front, as Victor Martins is already putting the pressure on Oliver Behrman. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting race to see how it all plays out. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. But back on board with myself as we continue the chase, continue the charge through the field and down the inside of Jack Crawford we go. It's been a tough weekend for the American driver.
Maneuver. You made it look so easy.
Just has not had the pace here at Imola, and yeah, not able to make his way through the field. Meanwhile, further up the road, this seems familiar. Victor Martins goes for the move around the outside of Frederic Vesti, and Victor Martins takes the race lead. On board with myself once more as we make the move down the inside of the Invicta Virtuosi driver of Amari Cordial, and we'll get that one done nice and cleanly. This is a little bit of deja vu, I do have to say, as we go for the move around the outside, and a bit of a tight squeeze there, but we get through on Ronasani, who has made a fairly solid start to this race, as we carry great speed and we're trying to get to the inside of Juan Manuel Correa, and the American driver doesn't give us a huge amount of space to work with as we get all out of shape through the next chicane. Oh my goodness.
Okay, no issues with tyre wear for now. Keep taking care of them.
And thankfully no damage from that little exchange, but yeah, that was some feisty defense there from Juan Manuel Correa. We'll eventually make the move down the inside into the chicane, a much safer overtaking opportunity for us, because we're so strong through the double right-hander that we can get a really nice run towards that chicane and get late on the brakes to make that move effectively. And we're about to try it once more, this time on Isaac Hadjar, as we head into the chicane, getting as much of that slipstream as we can. We'll make the move down the inside nice and clean this time, and we're up now into P16, so good progress in the early stages of this one, as Frederic Vesti wants to get that lead back for himself, and does so back ahead of Victor Martins. It goes the Prema driver, and Frederic Vesti back into the race lead. Victor Martins, though, I'm sure isn't quite done yet. Meanwhile, we'll make the move down the inside of Roman Stanek, and the Czech driver goes down a position. We will go up one, well not yet. Roman Stanek continuing this fight as we go side by side up the hill, and Stanek just about covers off the line enough that I wasn't quite confident to stick the nose in up the inside there. So a very stout defense from Roman Stanek, a driving trait he is certainly well known for. Certainly earned him a race victory in Melbourne earlier this year in real life Formula 2. But anyway, sending it up the inside, eventually we'll get the move done on Roman.
Nice move, keep going.
And next up is Clement Novalak, so let's see if we can get a run on the Frenchman as we head up the hill, but it's actually time for our pit stop before we know it in this one. So we're taking our pit stop on lap 12. So yeah, the earlier run of pit stops, everyone else will have to wait another lap. So we'll see if the undercut works for us as we head into the box. Hopefully we'll get a nice clean stop from the crew. And
Right, let's go, come on. That was a fantastic stop, faster than we were expecting.
yeah, wow, 4 seconds flat from the crew, so a lightning stop. And that's really gonna get us pointing in the right direction, essentially, as we continue this charge through the field. We've yeah, made good progress.
That was our last stop, no more scheduled pit stops, let's go.
We've made very good progress so far, so hopefully we can just continue this momentum all the way to the end. But oh, that's a little bit deep there, so a bit of an awkward moment on the well, that's a bigger moment there on the re-entry to circuit.
That's P18, P18.
And these tyres are very, very cold. Oliver Behrman, sorry, Frederick Vesti rather, pit on the same lap as us. Victor Martins went a lap longer, and Vesti maintains the race lead over Martins. So yeah, definitely the undercut seems to be the way to go here, and we'll see.
The car behind started to drop back. There's a gap beginning to form. Let's make the most of it.
We might see some proof of that here as we jump our teammate, among others, as we also make the move down the inside of Zane Maloney. So we've definitely gained through the pit stop cycle. We're up into P12 now, so oh, and we've got Jack Doohan in front of us just up the road. So yeah, this is a very interesting pit stop cycle. Doohan has lost out big time. He's lost 6 places. So as we make the move down the inside, I can only imagine maybe he had a slow pit stop or got boxed in. I'm not sure. I never actually looked at a replay to see what happened to Jack Doohan. But yeah, something went horribly wrong in the pit stop cycle. And in fact, the entire top 10 has been a little bit jumbled up by that entire cycle as we make the move down the inside of Oliver Behrman, side by side into the chicane. A little bit sketchy, but we get through.
Nice work, mate. That brings you up a place.
And yeah, we get the job done there. Brad Benavides in front of us has the fastest lap of the race at the moment, so some good pace from
the car behind is dropping back. We're seeing a gap starting to form.
the American driver. We'll make the move to the inside though, side by side into the chicane, and we'll get it done nice and smooth on the exit, and are up in another position into 9th. As we continue to push forwards in this race, we'll make the move down the inside of Jane Deruvala and get that one done nicely. Next up, we've got Richard Verschoor, so the podium sitter from the previous race, not running quite as high up the field in this one, but still showing some pretty decent pace as we go a little bit deep there, and we'll just have to check the floor after that one.
At the moment, just focus on the driving.
Well, thankfully we got away with it. Those curbs can be quite detrimental to the structural integrity of the car, but anyway, we get through on Richard Verschoor and continue this charge through the field that we've been on for a while now, as Victor Martins retakes the lead from Frederick Vesti, and the fight's on behind as well, as we've got a trio of Red Bull cars all scrapping away here. And it looks like, I think that's Enzo Fittipaldi, who fared very well through the pit stop cycle, but just got swamped by Dennis Hauger and Yuma Iwasa. So unfortunate for Fittipaldi there. And now we've got Brad Benavides making the move around the outside and getting through potentially on Jane Deruvala. They're still fighting it out side by side as they run through turns 1 and 2. And it looks like Benavides gets the move done on Jane Deruvala. Benavides up another position in this race. Deruvala struggling for pace a little bit at the moment. Meanwhile, Frederick Vesti back on the march and back past Victor Martins into the race lead once more. Back on board with myself. A quick little move to the inside should see us through as we run side by side through the chicane. But
okay, good work. Great pass.
yeah, nice pass there, and we're through on Teo Portier, moving us up into 6th position in this race. Up next we have Enzo Fittipaldi, who we just saw lose a couple of places, so potentially Fittipaldi losing a bit of pace in this one. We did see Fittipaldi drop back out of the points in the sprint race, so we'll see how he fares throughout the rest of this one as the scrap continues for the race lead. Victor Martins taking it back for the time being, but I'm sure it's not over yet as we see Iwasa and Fittipaldi duking it out side by side. We'll see if we can get a run on both of them here as we're going to switch from left to right, weaving between the Red Bulls, and we're going to grab both of those places, and just able to carry that momentum through the first chicane allowed us to grab both of them there. Here it is from the off-board. It was actually Iwasa who was thinking about the move to the outside of Hauger, realised a moment too late that there was no space there, and that allowed Fittipaldi up the inside as Iwasa had to back out. And yeah, you can see how much they slowed up on the exit, and we were just able to weave between them and take both of those places as Fittipaldi did get in front of Iwasa as well, so really did not work out for Iwasa. Trying to gain one place and ended up losing two through that exchange, so it's unfortunate for the Japanese driver. Just found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time as we have a bit of a moment through the chicane.
Okay, focus. We need to stay on form.
Rear tyre temperatures are starting to struggle at this phase of the race. I've been pushing pretty hard to get through the field, so it's not a huge surprise. But yeah, I'm just going to have to be mindful of that because they can... you know, they can catch you out with little warning if they get too hot, so we're going to have to just be a little bit careful, but of course we still need to fight through the field, and we're going to get back past Enzo Fittipaldi along the run towards the first chicane once more and move ourselves back up into fourth position. So this has been another great recovery drive.
Martins has just made a pass for the lead of the race.
As the fight still continues out front between Victor Martins and Frederick Vesti. What's going on this time as we see Vesti making the move to the outside. Victor Martins trying to hold that inside line as they run side by side through the chicane, and Martins holds on this time, so maybe the ART driver has the pace to maintain this one and get one back on the Framer team, who of course won the battle in the sprint race, as we go full send down the inside of Dennis Hauger, make our move onto the podium in this race.
Nice move, good job.
And now we have a clear shot at the race leaders.
Gap to your teammate behind, 7.4 seconds.
We grabbed the fastest lap of the race as well, so pace is looking good for us as we head up through the middle sector. Smoke pouring out of the Victor Martins car, and that's the end of the race for the Frenchman and the end of ART's fight for victory in this one. Victor Martins is out of the race with a mechanical failure. We had to go a little bit cautiously through that as the visibility was very low for a moment there. But disaster for Victor Martins, drops out of the race. That allows Jack Doohan to climb back into the points, and everyone, of course, between ourselves now in second and Jack Doohan in 10th, moving up a position. But yeah, that is a disaster for Victor Martins, fighting for victory in the feature race. There is no bigger prize this weekend, but unfortunately it all comes unstuck for Victor Martins. We make the move now down the inside of Frederick Vesti. We're trying to find a way past on the straight. Very deep on the brakes though. We're scrambling a little bit on the exit, but the move's done. We're up into first place now. And meanwhile behind, the battles continue as Ayumu Iwasa continues to be under pressure here. So yeah, I'm not sure what happened in that earlier exchange, if maybe there was a bit of damage caused to Iwasa's car, but since then Iwasa has really been struggling for pace. That's Teo Porcher and Richard Verschoor getting through on the Japanese driver. So yeah, unfortunate for Iwasa, and the woes continue as well as that is Brad Benavides making the move as well to get through on Iwasa, and yeah, he drops further down the order. Meanwhile, as we continue to push on. The rear tyres let go for a moment, and we managed to catch it that time, but that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. I was on board with Frederick Vesti, who charges down the inside to make that move as we're still sliding all the way through the next corner. But we managed to keep the fight going side by side with Frederick Vesti and maintain the position eventually. But yeah, that was a close one. So we really need to start looking after those rear tyres because yeah, we haven't been treating them well so far in this race, and they're starting to abandon us when we need them most. So we can't relax too much because Vesti's right on us and they let go again, and just no grip. And on the back end of the car, Frederick Vesti gets through and will slot back into second place. But yeah, wow, we're in struggle town. Big dive back up the inside of Frederick Vesti. A desperate move though. We run wide out into the gravel. Can't quite get back onto the circuit with Vesti charging through on the left hand side. And we slot back into second place. So yeah, just got a bit desperate there trying to get back through. But now as we build up the speed in the slipstream, we might have a more reasonable opportunity into turn one. Look at the power of the extra straight line speed with the drag reduction. Down the inside we go. And that's a little bit more of a tidy move to get back ahead of Frederick Vesti. But yeah, we really need to be careful not to push too hard through the corners, because it's not even on traction that we're struggling. It's actually in the mid corner. So when the rear tires lose traction, there's not a lot we can do to catch it. As we continue to see Imola under pressure. I think that was Doohan going a little bit wide in the background as both Ruvula and Doohan were left scrambling for a moment there, and that allowed Oliver Behrman through. Here's he on board with Behrman to see that exchange, and yeah, both Ruvula and Doohan were both looking for any opportunity to get through on Iwasa, but yeah, Behrman was able to take advantage there, move ahead of Jack Doohan into the points for Oliver Behrman. So it's been probably not the race he would have wanted, not quite the pace to come through the field as the fights continue back at the back end of the top 10, but all important positions and important points for all the drivers here and their relative championship positions, and Oliver Behrman trying to fight through. But Ruvula comes out on top in that scrap ahead of Behrman, Iwasa and Jack Doohan. So the latter, few of those not in the points at the moment, as Jack Doohan eventually does get ahead of Yumu Iwasa, and I think that is to get into the top 10 and leaves Iwasa to fight away with Zane Maloney in the background, who's been hovering just outside of the points all weekend, just not quite the pace to break into the top 10 or top 8 in the sprint race. Pretty similar to the sort of weekend our teammates had, to be honest. But anyway, that is Teo Porcher making the move on Enzo Fittipaldi to move up yet another position in this race, as further back Oliver Behrman makes the move on Jane Ruvula there. So the sprint race combatants charging through the field still and starting to get back towards the front as we go for a spin at the exit of the second chicane. We do a full 360 to try and get ourselves pointing in the right direction again, but we're losing a bunch of time here, a bunch of places, as we can't even get going in a straight line again. We smashed the 100 meter board. But yeah, I mean, I probably could have turned it left there and saved a few meters of turnaround, but yeah, as we tried to get going again, just lost a bit of traction, turned it a bit too far right, and ended up off again.
Okay, we lost the position, trying to keep focus.
But yeah, that is really not ideal. We've dropped into 7th position, so we've dumped a bunch of places there, and of course a lot of time. Dirty tyres as well, so we're really not in a good place right now. And like I said, it's just those rear tyres. They're just not, you know, they just can't support the car, and running wide there because I just don't have the confidence to just turn it in like I did earlier in the race. So it's a very tricky situation with the state of the rear tyres at the moment, and yeah, we're just gonna have to be super careful for the rest of the race that we don't let that happen again.
Great manoeuvre, you made it look so easy.
That is pretty much the one corner we still have confidence in the car, where we have all weekend, so we can still make moves. you know, in certain parts of the racetrack. But the fight's on here. Further up the road, this is for the race lead. Dennis Hauger trying on Frederick Vesti, but Vesti holds on and maintains that position. And not long to go in this race, so Dennis Hauger's coming alive at the right time, and it goes again, a full 360 this time. We keep it going somewhat, and that's another 3 places dropped. We're down into P9, and it just goes from bad to worse. There's no grip left in these rear tyres. You know, wasn't even pushing on that hard at this point, and yeah, the car just went round. So yeah, it's a frustrating end to this race, but these tyres just have nothing left to give. They're overheated, and to try to cool them down is nigh on impossible, because you know, the only way to cool down a tyre is to go slowly, and that's just not really the aim of the game. Anyway, meanwhile, up the road, we've got Oliver Behrman making the move on Brad Benavides, and the charge continues for Ollie Behrman with just a couple of laps to go in this race, and in fact, on to the final lap as Dennis Hauger has one last throw of the dice round the outside into turn 1. Vesti gives him room as they continue to run side by side through the next sequence of corners, but Vesti holds on. Dennis Hauger has to slot in behind, and that might just be the last chance for the Norwegian driver. As we look further back, Brad Benavides under pressure now from the Indian driver Jane Deruvala as they chase down towards the first chicane. Deruvala is going to try this move to the outside, and there might just be an opportunity. It's a long way around the outside, Jane Deruvala, and they're going to fight this one all the way through the first sequence of corners, but it's going to be Benavides who holds on. And in the background, we've got a good run on Jane Deruvala, and actually we're going to look for the move down the inside. We'll get through on Jane Deruvala, still side by side on the exit, but we'll have the inside line for the hairpin, and that's going to give us the position ahead of Jane Deruvala. He's not going to be able to hold it around the outside there, and that's another place gain for us. And in fact, Jack Doohan might be in the game for a late move here, but might just be a bit too far back as we go on board. This is my view of it, and we just had the momentum coming out of the first sequence of corners, still on the slide, so the rear tyres still not giving us too much support, but just enough to keep the fight going with Deruvala. And on the tighter inside line, we were able to find the grip there and make that move stick. But up the road, it has been another relatively controlled race by a Prema driver, but again, very much a hard-fought one for Frederick Vesti. He's been at the front the whole time. He's seen off the fight from Victor Martins and from Dennis Hauger. And it's going to be Frederick Vesti who wins the feature race here at Imola. A stout defensive drive, hard fought, and a well-deserved victory for Frederick Vesti. Dennis Hauger will take a second position, and along with everyone else who comes charging across the line, we had a late lunch or a late run at Brad Benavides, but not enough. Jack Doohan there running out the top 10, and the rest of the field coming across. Our teammate outside the top 10 there, and everyone else all fighting for position pretty close at the back. But yeah, there's our late run to the end, but the finish line comes up very quickly. No chance
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
for us to get past Benavides to the line. But P8, honestly, with 2 spins late in the race, I'll say that's a fairly lucky result. Especially that second spin. We were lucky not to lose too much time.
A super drive, a super win for Frederick Vesti.
Well, it's the team's local track, and you'd think that'd give them a little bit of an advantage, but they put on a show for the fans out there today who will be checking in on their progress.
It looks like it's time for the victory ceremony once again, as I can see the drivers beginning to make their way out for the celebrations. You can see it on their faces. It's another marvellous team win for Prema today.
So Frederick Vesti makes it 2 wins for Prema this weekend. Dennis Hauger will have to settle for second position this time, with third place going to Théo Pourchaire, a charging drive by the Frenchman.
And after all that excitement, I think it's time for a lie down. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you when Formula 2 returns.
Oh well, where to start? Yeah. Like I said, tire temperatures on the rear end were just the big issue there, and cost us twice. I mean, 3, 4, 5 times if you want to count the more minor ones. But yeah, I think I just pushed too hard in the early phases, and once those rear tires overheat, there's no easy way to bring them back unless you really do slow it down for a while. So yeah, it was always going to be tough once that happened, and I kind of knew it as soon as the rear end started sliding. You know, I had the issue to a more minor extent, I think at Baku, but it was sort of controllable there with the style of corners. But here, it was a very different story, and yeah, just different circumstances, and yeah, that was an unfortunate way to end 2 very good races up until those couple of moments in the latter stages of this one. But if anything, it makes the championship interesting, as we do lose a chunk of points to Vesti and Hauger. But let's have a little run through the finishing order before we get into that. It was Frederick Vesti with the race victory ahead of Dennis Hauger, Teo Porcher, charging through the field in this one from 8th to 1st. And then Enzo Fittipaldi, a decent result with the P4, ahead of Richard Verschoor, Oliver Behrman, Brad Benavides, myself, ahead of Jane Deruvala and Jack Doohan, taking the final point. And we disappointed with that after certainly having pace for more, I think, for Jack Doohan, but the pit stop cycle not going his way. In terms of the drivers' standings then, we lead the way still. Dennis Hauger in 2nd position, just 15 points behind us now. Frederick Vesti holds down 3rd in the standings, 21 points adrift. Then it's Yumu Iwasa, who had a few issues to deal with this weekend. I think 29 points adrift for Iwasa. And then I think the last of the real contenders at this point would have to be Oliver Behrman, who is at 35 points adrift, because after that it's 46 points back for Teo Porcher. But of course, we're still relatively early in the season, so anything can happen. Our teammate still 12th in the standings, having scored just 29 points so far. So yeah, tough run for our teammate so far in this championship. Unfortunately, while I was recording the end of this episode, I forgot to flick over to the constructors' standings, or the team's championship rather. So yeah, not exactly sure how things are looking there, but I imagine we're still in the ballpark. But yeah, we'll check that out at the start of the next episode. But for now, that is going to do it for this one. So I will say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to give me some feedback in the comments. It is always very helpful. And other than that, I will see you for the next one. Goodbye.